the United States, the Republican Party is celebrating its sweeping victory in Tuesday's midterm elections. The GOP seized control of the U.S. Senate with a pickup of at least 7 seats. Results in Alaska, Louisiana, and Virginia are still pending. The Republican majority currently stands at 52 to 45 and ends the Democrats' 8-year run controlling the Senate. The resurgent Republicans capitalized on Democrats hamstrung by an unpopular president, the millstone of Obamacare, and overall voter discontent. Republicans expanded their House majority by at least another 13 seats, their largest class since the 1940s. The Republican wave also led to gubernatorial victories in deep blue states, shocking Democrats in Illinois, Maryland, and Massachusetts. Tuesday night was also a night of historic firsts for Republicans in the federal elections. Among them, South Carolina's Tim Scott became the first African-American from the South elected to the Senate in either party since Reconstruction. Senators-elect Joni Ernst of Iowa and Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia will be the first female senators from their states. West Virginia also elected its first Latino, Congressman-elect Alex Mooney. Utah's Mia Love became the GOP's first black woman elected to Congress, and 30-year-old Elise Stefanik of New York is the youngest woman ever elected to the Hill. After Tuesday's election, Congress for the first time will be comprised of more than 100 female lawmakers. More about the implications of the election and the reaction of congressional leaders and the White House in our segments with Laura Ingraham and Congressman Sensenbrenner straight ahead. Some ballot initiatives of note across the U.S. The minimum wage was raised in Alaska, South Dakota, Nebraska, Arkansas, as well as San Francisco and Oakland. In all, the new laws will affect some 600,000 wage earners. Marijuana was legalized in Alaska, Oregon, and here in the District of Columbia. Florida rejected a medical marijuana measure. Pro-life measures offering legal protection to the unborn were defeated in Colorado and North Dakota, while voters in Tennessee explicitly rejected any right to an abortion in their state constitution. In Oregon, voters there overwhelmingly defeated a measure to provide driver's licenses to illegal aliens. In other news, a suicide bomber killed at least 32 people on Monday near a Shiite Muslim religious procession in northeast Nigeria. 119 people were wounded in the attack. In a separate incident in central Nigeria, militants using explosives freed 145 inmates from a prison in the state of Kogi on Sunday. Prison officials said 1 inmate died in the attack and 12 escapees had been recaptured. Boko Haram is suspected in both attacks. And Muslims in Iraq are also falling victim to jihad. Government officials have confirmed the massacre of more than 300 members of a Sunni tribe by Islamic State militants. Among the dead in the western Anbar village, dozens of women and children were found at the bottom of a well. The tribe had battled ISIS for weeks before running low on ammunition and supplies. Calls for support from Iraqi government and international forces went unanswered, save for one U.S. airdrop. And disturbing news is emerging on the sex slave market of the Islamic State. Iraq News has obtained a purchase price list for Yazidi and Christian women and girls. The ISIS document, or the ISIS-issued document, sets prices based on age. The younger, the more expensive. Women 40 and 50 years of age cost the equivalent of $40 U.S. Girls ages 1 to 10 go for $175. The document notes that all proceeds will benefit the Mujahideen, or Holy Struggle of ISIS. Also emerging this week, an internet video of an apparent sex slave auction in Mosul. As rules of the auction are being explained, giddy young militants are seen joking about their purchases. One yells, "Where's my Yazidi girl?" as another exclaims, "If she doesn't have teeth, I wouldn't want her." Another then suggests dentures. The auctioneer notes, Girls with blue eyes and green eyes cost more. Arabic language TV Al Ayan translated the video but could not independently verify its authenticity. And according to a new study, religious freedom is substantially curtailed in more than half of the world's nations, and restrictions on religious freedom are growing in more than 1/4 of all countries. Prepared by the Vatican-affiliated Aid to the Church in Need, the report found a high level of religious intolerance in 20 countries and the situation deteriorating in 55 others. Of the 20, 14 of those countries are Islamic states, including Iraq, Syria, and Nigeria. The report also notes a trend toward restrictions on religious freedom in the West. The report attributes this to a widespread belief that religious ideas should be barred from the public square and a fear of religious extremism. The rise of aggressive atheism and a religious illiteracy also contribute to threats against religious freedom. Back in the U.S., Brittany Maynard, the young California woman diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, ended her life on November 1st. She made national headlines for her intention to use Oregon's so-called Dying with Dignity law after moving there earlier this year. Advocates for doctor-assisted suicide hailed her decision and expressed hope that right-to-die laws would soon be passed in other states. Maynard worked with the advocacy group Compassion and Choices, which spends about $7 million annually to promote assisted suicide. More on the story and its moral implications later in the program. And Pope Francis called for a quicker annulment process this week. He also indicated he would consider doing away with church fees for declarations of nullity. An annulment is the legal process that Catholics must follow in order to marry again following a divorce. The Pope told participants at a Vatican meeting with marriage tribunal officials that he was dismayed when he learned of the hardships some of the faithful endure when going through the annulment process. He recounted how he once fired a tribunal official for taking a $10,000 fee for his services. Justice and charity were the Holy Father's words in arguing for the changes, saying that the process can be long and weighty, that people can become discouraged. Just 1 month after the controversial Synod on the Family wrapped in Rome, Pope Francis will convene an interreligious conference focused on traditional marriage. The 3-day Vatican-sponsored meeting entitled Complementarity of Man and Woman will kick off November 17th. The gathering will host over 30 speakers from 23 different countries, various Christian churches, and other faiths. The purpose of the conference? To support and reinvigorate the relationship between a man and a woman, marriage, and family life. Archbishop Charles Chaput of Philadelphia and Pastor Rick Warren of Saddleback Church in California will be among the participants. Pope Francis will open the conference and preside over its first meeting. The meeting was proposed last year by Cardinal Gerhard Müller, the prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. And according to a close aide of Pope Francis, the controversial paragraph on homosexuality in the midterm Synod report was retained in the final document by order of the Pope himself. Cardinal Reinhard Marx, the president of the German Bishops' Conference, told Die Zeit that the paragraph concerning the discussion of appropriate pastoral attention for homosexual persons was kept in the final report, despite the fact that the body voted not to include the passage. According to Cardinal Marx, the Pope wanted everyone in the Church to see where we stood. End quote. The Synod on the Family resumes in October 2015. And another German prelate, Cardinal Walter Kasper, who has championed the controversial effort to allow divorced and remarried Catholics to quickly receive communion, is receiving a theological award from the Catholic University of America here in Washington, D.C. It is the only pontifical university in the U.S. serving primarily lay people. The Cardinal is being honored for excellence in scholarship and leadership in religious studies. You will recall Cardinal Kasper made headlines during the Synod on the Family for his controversial annulment fast pass proposals. His ideas were roundly criticized inside and outside of the Synod Hall, a book-length criticism by 5 other cardinals, including Cardinal Raymond Burke, deconstructed the Casper plan. We approached Cardinal Casper for an interview while he was in town, but he declined. In a related story, the bishops of Germany are being criticized for their behavior back at home. Vatican watcher Sandro Magister noted in a column this week that while the German bishops, among them Cardinals Casper and Marx, are leading the charge to allow Catholics in irregular marriages to receive communion, they are denying the sacraments, even confession, to Catholics who refuse to pay Germany's church tax. The compulsory tax is collected by the government and given to the church to help run parishes and hospitals and charitable projects. It garners billions in annual revenue. Critics note a bit of hypocrisy on the part of the German bishops and their pay-to-pray system over which they appear to preside.